So welcome back, everybody. I think we've had a very engaging morning with lots of discussion on various topics, and I hope everyone has picked up some really useful information. So we're going to switch on to another very important issue right now. When people think of the GCC, people think about oil and all of those things, but there's a very serious green revolution going on at the moment. And we have an excellent panel of companies and professionals who have a lot of experience in this area and actually doing a lot of work in the region. So without further ado, I'd like to invite our next panelist to come on stage to talk about UK-GCC Green Tech Collaboration and Sustainability Matters. And it's moderated by Jessica Obeid.
Hello. So GCC countries can have access to more than $2 trillion in economic growth and create 1 million jobs by 2030 through sustainability projects. To discuss this and the collaboration with the UK, what GCC has to offer, and potential challenges as well, and the growth of the sustainability industry, I'm joined by esteemed speakers. So I'm going to present them in alphabetical order. First, we have James Hygate, who's the CEO and founder of Green Fuels. He founded the company when he saw the emerging biofuel industry in the US, and he aimed to bring sustainable biodiesel to the UK. Green Fuels has since won numerous awards, and in 2013 was granted a royal warrant by His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales. Today, the company has supplied biorefineries on every continent except Antarctica, and it has a production capacity of 1 million liters of sustainable biofuels every day. We're going to discuss this more and what brought James and the company into the GCC throughout the panel. We are also joined by Alistair Munro, who's the founder and CEO of Ryse Energy. Alistair has extensive career in the water and power sectors and has held several C-level positions in engineering and the chemical sector. Has also held this position in a range of startups and FSTS E250 companies. Alistair has a background in chemistry and marketing, quite an asset, and over the past 10 years he has been a member of the board of the International Desalination Association. We're also joined by Mr. David Reavley, CEO of Solar Water. He's a highly experienced executive who has held board positions in the UK and international public companies within the telecom and tech sectors. He's a specialist in developing and implementing sales and marketing strategies across these companies. David is also a visiting lecturer at the University College of London. He's leading Solar Water PLC company, not only because of its proven and award-winning solutions, but because of the obvious global benefits of this company and this industry. So David will also tap into what these benefits are and how we can grow this through the collaboration between the UK and the GCC. To kickstart, I'm going to go to James. James's company has had projects across the world. So what brought you to the GCC in specific? What was attractive to you mostly in the GCC?
Well, actually, I suppose we've been doing business in the GCC for over a decade now. Although it's now we're not only being a technology provider, we're establishing our own projects. What attracted me in the first place? Well, I started Green Fuels primarily from a desire to move away from fossil fuel usage in my own car. And actually, if I can convince others to do the same, that's a good thing. And if I can convince others in the GCC to do it, actually it's a great thing, because being a region so heavily dependent on oil, it's great to be able to see the will and the move away from fossil fuels into clean carbon alternatives. So initially we were a technology provider, and we supplied technology into the GCC probably just over a decade ago, which is some fairly basic and simple facilities that work very well, recycling waste oils and fats into a clean burning net zero biofuel. And now we're in the process of establishing our own production facilities. First one being in Oman, which is a very, very exciting opportunity for us. and initially for the production for road fuel, but we see this being scaled to both sustainable aviation fuel and marine fuels in the very near future.
Thank you, James. I just want to remind the audience that this is an interactive session. So if you do have any questions, please do send them over and we're going to address them across the session. David, you've been on so many boards of so many companies. What targets have you set for solar water, and how are you actually achieving them, especially within the context of the GCC?
The world of desalination has been around for many decades, right? But in 2016, we realized there was a growing problem with water. Global demand for water will probably exceed the supply by 2030. Climate change is stifling rainfall. There's population growth. So there was a huge difficulty in the continuation of using reverse osmosis to desalinate seawater. Because the more plants that you had, the more fossil fuel was going to be used. Therefore, you were just adding to the difficulty. So we had a concept. From research, we discovered there was 177 countries around the world that had a severe water shortage. We analyzed those 177, and we thought we could help approximately 80 of those countries. For our process to work and evolve, you need sunshine, you need access to the sea. So by looking at the global situation, the GCC countries fell into that particular category. So we attended a number of conferences in the area to understand what was being spoken about regarding water. And we were suitably impressed with especially what the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was doing with the Vision 2030. So we targeted the GCC countries. We started our commercial road probably in the middle of 2019. Unfortunately, by early 2020, we had this pandemic. That has not stopped us because of the technology we're using today. We've been managed to interact with a number of countries around the world. Of the 80 countries that I mentioned, we are in conversations, negotiations with approximately 31 of those countries. And of the 6 GCC countries, we are in very serious talks with 5 of those countries. And we've got one contract secured with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But all across the MENA region, we are talking to try and resolve some of the issues. Our vision was to use solar power to produce desalinated water for agriculture, industry, and domestic use in an environmentally friendly way without the reliance of fossil fuels. We are non-polluting. We do not pollute the atmosphere. We do not pollute the ocean. We do not pollute the ground. So we think that we have a perfect solution for this perfect planet of ours that we are trying to protect. And the support that we've received, and the recognition and the welcome that we have received in the GCC countries, and the support that we've received from the UK government has been exceptional, and we truly appreciate it.
I'm going to get back to you later on the support from the UK government and this expected growth that you've addressed. But next, I'm going to go to Alistair, and I want to ask you, so what do you find as unique opportunities in the GCC, not only in terms of the technology, but also in terms of what the GCC can offer in terms of expected future growth in projects, policies, etc.?
I think the GCC is an exceptional place for doing business, and it has been now for many, many years. I've been living in the UAE for more than 35 years, and there's not many places in the world where you've seen such dramatic changes as you have in the GCC, with new megacities. David's talking about NEOM, in the kingdom. These are the opportunities which are being created within the region. It's a young region, it's an expanding region, it has natural wealth, and it has ambition, and it has strong leadership. So I think those are all opportunities and characteristics for high growth markets. But the other opportunity is that the GCC is incredibly well situated logistically for servicing the world and the world beyond the GCC. We have the network of communication with the major airlines into almost every aspect of the world. I laugh about it in that from Dubai, usually in non-pandemic times, you can be at a meeting anywhere in the world the next day through the incredible Emirates and Etihad Airlines and Qatar Airways, and so many of the communication and logistical aspects are just perfect for servicing the world from a GCC hub. So I think what we've seen is a very business-friendly environment. We have a workforce that's available. We have an open market culture, and we have an ambitious leadership that's looking to drive the economies forward and provide opportunities not just for the nationals but for others that want to make their life within the Middle East region. And I think the GCC is an outstanding example of that.
All right, thank you. David, you have mentioned the support from the UK government. Can you please elaborate more on this? What kind of support are you receiving in the Gulf and abroad, and what kind of additional support do you think you would like to have?
So when we first started our commercialization, I visited the Department of International Trade in Whitehall, London, to understand what services, what capabilities were at our disposal. And I was pleasantly surprised at what was available. And we were introduced to a person in Whitehall, a young lady called Nia Tran. And by using her as a focal point, right, she introduced us to the British embassies in the countries that we were targeting, right? And within the embassy, there is a department of the Department of International Trade. And we were introduced to some key people within the embassy. And they've been so helpful in us understanding. In my previous business career, I had done business in the Middle East, but it was obvious where to go in the telecoms industry. You go to the network operator. When you are selling a desalination plant, and you could be selling it to industry, you could be selling it to government, you could be selling it to a tourist organization, it's understanding the process and the procedure and the protocol that you have to observe. And I found the people in the department so full of information, and they were fundamental in introducing us and getting introductions at a very senior level into some of the organizations. And it saved us such an enormous amount of time, right? The thing that I would advise anybody who's coming to work and try to do business in the GCC is some of the things that Alistair commented on. It's a very friendly and understanding region, but come here with full of respect of what they've achieved in what is a very few decades, right? They have a determination, right? But you have to be prepared to come frequently. You have to establish a relationship with the people that you are trying to deal with. And I've liked to observe these three words that anybody's coming to the GCC to do business, right? Be polite, be patient, but you can still be persistent. But you have to get them in that order. Be polite and be patient, right? And be prepared to visit and stay a long time, to understand the problems that they have and explain the solutions that you are offering to them. I have found, both with the embassies and the Department of International Trade based in the GCC, are more than helpful, full of knowledge, right, and have a willingness to share. And the people that we have been introduced to, as I say, we are negotiating with 5 of the 6 GCC. That doesn't mean to say the 6th one we're not interested in. It's just the time that we have, and we have started a dialogue with the 6th, but we are not negotiating on a project yet. But I'm sure that will come in the coming weeks. But we are talking to, and we are negotiating with 6, and we already have our first contract with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with NEOM. So I would encourage any organization that wants to trade with the GCC. Now, start with the Department of International Trade and have an understanding of what they can offer. The only thing that I would suggest that could be improved is that with UK export finance, right, which is a fantastic opportunity, but they should start to understand a little bit more about technology transfer, right? Because also a lot of companies wanting to trade with the GCC are trading technology. So you don't actually make anything. So what you are exporting it on a click of a button, right? But the development cost to get to that technology to make the transfer, one of the many benefits that we bring because of the simplicity of what we sell is we deliver a lot of in-country value. The component parts for our project, the vast majority can be produced locally. The labor is locally. And we're teaching people in the GCC new labor skills. So we deliver a lot of in-country value. So we're not exporting something that is made in the UK. What we're exporting is technology that is being developed in the UK, and we want to share with the world. As I mentioned earlier, water will run out in the UK, across the world by 2030 if something is not done about it. But you can't keep burning a fossil fuel to create water. You have to find alternative solutions to save the planet as well as saving the people.
Thank you, David. That's very insightful, and I'm sure our audience appreciates your advices. Be polite, be patient, be persistent. And you also tapped into something I was going to address next, the knowledge transfer and technology transfer and increasing the local content. So I'm going to go back to James on this. And so David has tapped a bit into this, but what do you find why the GCC should be interested in the UK innovators and technologies?
Well, I think there's in the UK we do have quite an established clean technology industry. I think as a country we are very good at innovating and coming up with new ideas. Certainly when we started 18 years ago, the biofuels industry was pretty much non-existent, and so with we very much focused on waste and biogenic feedstocks, and have grown the business over the past 2 decades around that. So I think there is a lot of experience on the innovation side within the UK. I think with the GCC there is a huge opportunity to commercialise and deploy this. So the UK is a relatively small market to be supplying into as a whole, and actually with I think a lot of these clean technology solutions, they are very well suited to other countries and also to regions such as the GCC. So as a company, most of our sales have been exports, and actually most of our growth over the next few years will be through operations we're establishing in outside of the UK. We also see GCC as an opportunity for manufacturing our technology in the future, because a lot of the areas where we're supplying technology, it's basically closer. So there are, we hold IP in the UK, and there are parts that will still come from the UK, but we can very much see that manufacturing moving into the region will likely happen over the coming years. And for us, for our expansion in the region, we have our first facility built in Oman, and this really is for us a showcase. One of the reasons being is it's a place very easy for the world to get to, and so for us to demonstrate and show our technology and the latest versions of it, it's a great location for that. But we also, we are planning to expand in the region, and over the next 5 years, we see that we'll hopefully have operations in all the GCC countries. And so there is, for us, it's a very exciting place to be doing business as a UK business, but also adding value, both to the UK, but also into the GCC for the technologies that we're providing.
Thank you, James. Alistair, David has reflected on the importance of the UK government and Department of International Trade in providing information, but also leads into the GCC. Has your experience been similar, and do you find there have been other factors that have been critical and essential as an entry to the GCC market?
Yeah, I think I agree with David. We have seen the DIT UK be extremely proactive in certainly the recent times, and supportive of SMEs and large corporations in entering the GCC market. I think one of the things that is quite interesting is that UK export finance was typically very focused on larger contracts, and we see them now being much more supportive of SMEs and lower value contracts, which has been quite a change really from my experience with the embassies are very well connected, there's no question about that. I think one of the things is just getting a focus on what the UK's capability is, because that's obviously changed over the last generation from traditional industries to more modern industries, and clean tech is one of those. And so I think we can see a change in the relationship between the GCC and the UK. It's not the heavy engineered products anymore that are the skill set that the UK has. It is the SMEs, it is the fintechs, it is the software and development aspects, but also on the sustainability side, there is a big drive in the UK, as you know, for clean tech to be deployed in our own home country and use that expertise overseas. And we do see that support coming through from the UK government on a growth basis and a local basis. So it's a very positive future.
Thank you. I wanted to give the last 5 minutes to address the challenges, but we also happen to have a question that addresses exactly this. And one of our attendees is asking on the significant challenges you're facing in the GCC, especially in the adoption of environmental sustainable solutions, and if you can provide any comments on the transparency. Anyone would like to address this?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one. I think the change is very significant in that
I never actually expected in my lifetime to be seeing such a drive towards sustainability in what is the centre of the world's oil and gas sector. But we are seeing it. We had earlier on in some of the policy decisions in Saudi, which have now led to the creation of mega projects in sustainability. Similarly, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, I'm sure will follow, and Oman's now tendering out for the large projects. But we also see a lot of change in decentralized infrastructure as well. So you're getting the big grid-connected projects replacing the traditional gas-fired and oil-fired power plants. But you're also seeing sustainability being adopted by companies on a local level, on a smaller project basis. And so the psyche of the oil and gas culture is going away. And, we've lived in a world where within the GCC, we were burning, as David said earlier on, burning fuel to make water as a government policy. And we've seen that in many of the hydrocarbon-rich markets. That's changing. But we're also seeing sustainability coming into applications that are much smaller within the oil and gas companies. And the oil and gas companies themselves have very deep pockets, and they know that the change is coming. So I think that's now cascading into the general market, and we're seeing more sustainability and less fuel subsidy. So, the market had been subsidized. We weren't paying the real cost of electricity. We weren't paying the real cost of water because of government policy. And I think that's a win-win for everyone. It makes people conserve more. It brings innovation into the market, and also it saves the government pocket in these challenging times.
Thank you. So we still have 2 minutes left, and we still want to hear from David and then James what the challenges are. And Alistair has also reflected on the global change that's driving these new policies. So David, what do you think?
I think the challenges that we have is time, right? I underpin everything that Alistair and James said, that the sustainability movement within the Middle East, right, is amazing. They are leading the world in many areas, but I think they're leading the world with their determination and their activity and the willingness to speak to people. If you have some innovation, if it is sustainable, the willingness for them to sit with you, to understand it and embrace it. So the challenge is that from the UK perspective, just what James said, we're a nation of innovators, right? Some of our universities have global acceptance, right? And we have some wonderful organizations. So embrace the GCC, right? Come out here and tell them what we have, right? But my challenge is always, I never have enough time, right?
Thank you, David. James?
I really echo in both Alistair and David's comments here. That, for us, the biggest challenge is the low price of fuel locally. We're providing something that is a direct replacement. And so we're either having to sell into customers who are willing to pay a green premium for it, or export to countries where there are greater incentives, so typically into Europe. So there does have to be more policy change. The reality is we are coming to the end of the oil age, and these things do need to be adopted, and they need to be adopted very, very quickly. So we don't have catastrophic climate change. And so we are seeing an awful lot of interest, an awful lot of drive, and an awful lot of will, but we are still competing with fossil fuels, which that is the challenge for us.
Thank you so much. I want to thank our esteemed speakers for their insights, which have been of value to our attendees, and thank you for joining us for this session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.